I've asked Kathy Williams to join me in fielding a few questions that have come up in our work with the Red Stripe, the Blue Stripe programs. Kathy?
First of all, why do we need two different programs?
Two programs are really required because we're trying to do two basically different jobs. The Red Stripe program, of course, is designed for high-speed return of failed parts for the purpose of engineering evaluation and the improvement of reliability in our instruments. It does, of course, give us the advantage of a program where we can handle low-cost parts that can be repaired and returned to the system, saving the customer money because we can price these at a lower price. But the basic reason for Red Stripe is reliability. Blue Stripe, on the other hand, is a system for returning repairable assemblies where the cost difference between a new part and a repairable assembly is significant. Here, of course, we have to have a pretty tight control, so two programs really make sense.
Why can't all parts be returned directly to the factory?
It would be nice if it were this way, I guess, but the Red Stripe parts really need to be returned direct to the factory so that we can get the high speed that we want out of the system. On the other hand, the Blue Stripe program requires a certain amount of control to be sure that we get boards back. For this reason, since boards are ordered out of the customer service center and the transaction card is filled out there, the boards have to be returned to the service center so that they can be checked against these transaction cards to give us the control we need.
What happens if a customer doesn't return a failed part or assembly?
A failed part or assembly which is not returned doesn't create a big problem for the customer on Red Stripe program. What we do lose, of course, is the feedback that the engineers are looking for in order to improve instrument reliability. Under the Blue Stripe program, on the other hand, a board which is not returned has to be replaced in the system with a new board at new board cost. Therefore, when a board isn't returned, the field office is billed for a new board, and this cost should be passed on to the customer.
What order number should the customer or technician put on the failure report?
The order number we're looking for on the failure report is the order number that appears on the packing slip that comes with a new part, whether it's Red Stripe or Blue Stripe.
How should a rebuild assembly be ordered for a customer who wants to do his own repair?
For the customer who wants to do his own repair, the field office should order the part on POPs, requesting drop shipment to the customer, and coding the order so that the invoice is returned to the field office. If the customer returns his failed part before the invoice is returned at the field office, the office can then invoice the customer for the repairable assembly at customer net. If, on the other hand, his returned assembly is not received by the time they're ready to invoice the customer, they should invoice at list price. Then, assuming that the customer's board assembly is returned within the 30-day period that's allowed, the field office can credit the customer with the difference between list price and customer net.
What if his instrument is still in warranty?
The system really works the same. If the customer's instrument is in warranty, the only difference, of course, is that the bill for the repairable assembly is going to go back to the division. One thing to remember here, the division should never be billed more than the customer net price for a repairable assembly plus the labor involved.
Bob, can a customer buy a rebuild assembly to use as a spare?
We discourage this. Since the customer who's buying a part to use as a spare isn't likely to have a return within 30 days, he's going to end up paying the same price for a rebuild assembly that he would pay for a new assembly. Since we don't want to deplete the repairable assemblies we have in the system, for the customer who wants to buy a part and hold as a spare, he should buy a new part. There are a couple of other questions that have come up from technicians. One, of course, is the question from the technician who has already filled out a defective material return tag and wants to know if he now has to fill out another form. And the answer is no. If the defective material return tag is completely filled out, if it contains the order number and the office location code, And these things are important because this is our method of matching against the transaction card back in the division. If he has all the information on his return tag, he can merely staple that to the failure report and return it to CSC. The other question that comes up from time to time is, does this eliminate the need to return any part that is not on either the red stripe or the blue stripe program? And the answer here is no, it doesn't. The red stripe and blue stripe programs have no effect on the system now in effect for the return of failed parts with a list price over $100. I hope that we've been able to help you to answer the questions that are bound to come up from time to time as you work with these programs. If, however, a customer presents you with a problem that you can't answer, don't hesitate to call Service Center and get the answer to your problem so that we can give the best possible service to your customer.